Hoodlums residents break into government warehouse in Abuja, loot food items. Kano Municipal Local Government Council confirms measles outbreak. Relentless attacks leave vulnerable casino communities in trauma and despair. On the foreign scene, truce talks set to resume in Cairo as heavy fighting rages. Hello again and welcome to the Trust TV News update at this hour. I'm Aisha Salihu. And now the news in full, and we begin in the Federal Capital Territory, where hoodlums broke into a government warehouse in Gwagwa Town, Federal Capital Territory, on Sunday and plundered stored food items. Witnesses reported that youth raided the facility around 7 a.m., seizing bags of maize and grains. The looting persisted until 9 a.m., causing traffic congestion on Gwagwa-Karmo Road. Some residents, including those from neighboring areas, joined in the looting frenzy. The incident, reminiscent of previous raids during the COVID-19 lockdown, left the warehouse ransacked. Despite the chaos, security forces were reportedly absent during the attack. However, FCT police spokesperson SP Josephine Ade assured that police were mobilized to address the situation. The African Development Bank has announced a strategic partnership with Bayero University, Kano, to bolster agricultural research, aiming to bolster the nation's food security during the 2024 convocation ceremony. President Akinwumi Adesina highlighted the urgency of addressing climate change as a global threat to food security, underscoring Nigeria's imperative to embrace modern agricultural practices.
We live in an era of climate change, and yet only 3% of African agriculture is actually under irrigation. And therefore, the issue is we have to make sure we help our farmers to know when it's going to rain, how much is it going to rain, what crops do you plant, when do you plant it, how do you adapt if the weather is not very, very good. This is all of what they are doing here, helping farmers to be able to develop, have access to technologies that allow them to be able to produce crop and to be resilient in the face of climate change. That the African Development Bank will deepen the work that they've been doing in maybe about 3-4 ways. First is we will work with them to become one of the key centers to get technologies such as water-efficient maize for farmers, to get heat-tolerant wheat varieties to farmers at the scale of millions. That's the only scale that matters. And secondly is that we will work with them to also become a center in which we can use to do modeling work so that we can know how to predict weather patterns and get that information to farmers so that they can plan better.
Still in Kano, authorities at the Kano Municipal Local Government Council of Kano State have confirmed an outbreak of measles in some parts of the local government area. The primary healthcare coordinator of the area, Aliyu Janjiri Kiru, disclosed this during a meeting of the Emergency Preparedness Response Committee at the local government secretariat. In a statement, the information officer of the area, Fatima Abdullahi, quoted the coordinator saying they received reports of several cases of measles and other infectious diseases from various health centers in the municipal local government area. The coordinator said the suspected affected areas with cases are Sharada, Madatai, and Gandun Albasa. He, however, called for an urgent step or response to contain the diseases. On his part, the officer in charge of disease control, Tukur Hassan, said they have already referred the cases to Murtala Special Hospital for isolation. The district head of municipal, Mada King Kano, Yusuf Nahabani, implored all village and ward heads in the area to prioritize public health at all times due to its significance. Away from that and now to security matters, Katsina State has witnessed a surge in bandits attacks across communities, recently leading to a protest by victims to express their frustrations. In the latest incident, bandits unleashed terror for 3 consecutive days, leaving behind a tale of devastation and destruction of lives and livelihoods. Trustee Vice Jamil Mabai, who visited the community, reports on the pain and trauma that continues to take a toll on vulnerable communities.
In the heart of Katsina, Nigeria, a once vibrant farming community lies in ruins. Wurma, a village known for its bountiful harvest, now bears the scars of a relentless 3-day attack by bandits. Orphaned by the brutality, these young souls have become the face of Wurma's despair.
As we speak now, there are 2 dead bodies of a father and his son left in Wurma.
The streets, once teeming with life, lie desolate, a stark portrayal of the community's displacement. This tragedy is not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of a decade-long conflict. 2 tribes, once bound by peaceful coexistence, now find themselves locked in a vicious cycle of vengeance. The age-old struggle for land and water has morphed into a deadly dance of kidnappings for ransom and the killings fueled by a thirst for revenge.
The situation I witnessed today was really a very bad one. I went to a whole Wurma town. I couldn't see one chicken, not to talk of a human being. The only human beings I was able to see in those locations are those who could not move, elderly people or sick people, whom I was able to evacuate myself. I was there up to around 1:30, and today is Jumu'at. It's a Friday, but there was no single human being in the mosque to pray for Jumu'at. It's really a very thing that I've never witnessed. And if somebody could tell me that this kind of things could happen in Katsina State, I would not believe it. But I've seen it myself. I have seen the anger of the people, and I have seen the suffering.
These community watchmen stand as a fragile shield against the onslaught. The government, vowing to bolster their ranks and weaponry, hopes to level the playing field.
We know the bandits have superior weapon against the community watch, and then you know there are some restrictions on the possession of AK-47. We are working towards the hurdles so that we can overcome those hurdles and get more sophisticated weapons that our people can use. And we are also working towards, in those areas that are more vulnerable, to see how we can recruit more men. First of all, we want to replace and also recruit more men.
His voice, heavy with concern, acknowledges the escalating humanitarian crisis plaguing Katsina.
We have deployed over 120 men today into that location, and we provided them with equipment and food items. And I just met with a delegation of about 10 representatives from that community. We discussed the problems, and they suggested various ways in which they need the government intervention and they need the government to come into. We are working towards that. I have mandated this Commissioner of Internal Security with my special assistant on victims of banditry and kidnapping to work out ways in which between tomorrow and next tomorrow we'll start to address the issues. And also I have engaged the Commissioner of Police, the Director DSS, the Brigade Commander has just left for deployment of movement, and then also to organize an special operation in which we get these people out of and dislocate the bandits and move them away from the state.
As Wurma struggles to rise from the ashes, the future remains shrouded in uncertainty. The scars of this tragedy will run deep, each not only on the landscape, but also in the hearts of its people. Jamil Mabai, Trust TV, Katsina.
And in Gombe, despite government's efforts to improve the state of electricity in the country, supply seems to be worsening. According to the World Bank, only 55% of Nigerians have access to electricity, and even those who do have access to electricity experience frequent power outages and fluctuations. This had a significant impact on the Nigerian economy and the day-to-day lives of Nigerians. Hassan Koli reports.
Irregular power supply is among the major factors responsible for slowing or shutting down small businesses across the country. Gombe is not an exception, as power outages forced 23-year-old Zaidu Jafar to close his barbing shop for 2 consecutive days. The poor power supply situation in the last 2 days is really disturbing because I could not work due to power outage. My rechargeable clipper too has discharged. That is how discouraging the power outages are to us. With the temperature hitting a high of 35 to 40 degrees Celsius in Gombe, some Gombe residents are in dire need of electricity to cool off. Unfortunately, this need remains unmet, as most of them are not able to do so due to the power outages. Well, power outages are really affecting us negatively. The season is so hot that even with the air conditioners, the weather is hot, and the month of Ramadan is coming, when we will need stable power supply. The government needs to look into the power issue to ease life for us. Experts say dysfunctional setup of Nigerian electricity supply industry is responsible for the worsening electricity supply in the country. It remains to be seen whether the recent appointment of the Federal Government Power Company Limited will help stabilize the country's power supply. Hassan Koli, Trust TV News, Gombe.
Radio listeners in Jos, the Plateau State capital, are lamenting the lack of access to radio broadcast due to poor supply of electricity recently being experienced in the state. The residents said the situation is denying them access to current news and information in the state and the country at large. Ado Musa completes the report.
Radio stations broadcast news updates, weather forecast, traffic reports, and other informational content which help listeners stay informed about current events and important development in the state, the country, and the world at large. However, many radio listeners in Jos have stated that these days they have been denied access to regular news and other radio programs that provide them with entertainment and education about what is happening within and outside their environment.
Why it affects us? This the medium will receive vital information that educates us. But now,
this is due to
because of the shortage of lights, we don't, in fact, at times, you can't even listen to a news or a vital information for a good, let me say, 1 to 2 minutes. Before you know, the service, it will just cut.
ya shafe ni ta gurare daban-daban, amma babban inna abin ya fi na kasu ka kamar misali ɗazun nan muna tun daga shekaran jiya muna cikin jin radio.
Anytime you are listening to radio programs, the transmission will just go off. We understand that it is as a result of inconsistency in power supply. It is affecting our level of awareness of current events.
Kaga kamar labarai a lokuta da yawa ma kana sauraron labarai zaka ji shu an dauke wuta a can.
In this area has been a source of concern. The availability of power is very significant, not only for radio houses, but for other issues as well. We don't enjoy listening to news on radio due to the electricity problem. We rely on radio to receive information about what is happening, but it is very difficult now. Hadiza Ahmed is the head of news at Unity FM Jos. She explains why some of the stations now cut transmission in Jos.
Virtually almost all the radio stations here in Jos are shutting down their transmission or cutting the hours of transmission due to inadequate power supply. In a day where we just have maybe few hours of power supply, the remaining hours you have to use or you have to purchase diesel to run the station. And the cost of diesel is not something that radio station can withstand. For instance, here in our station, we purchase like 30,000 diesel in a day. And apart from the lack of power supply and the cost of diesel, we are faced with low patronage from the customers. So with this, most of the radio stations are shutting down or cutting down the hours of transmission. And apart from that, even our audience were complaining of breaking in transmission. Sometimes the program is on air and the program, due to power, lack of inadequate or power outage, we have to cut the program or shut down the station, and the audience are not even satisfied with our services.
While some of the stations have reduced their transmission hours, residents are still calling on government and other relevant authorities to resolve the problem in the power sector and high cost of diesel in the country. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
The Nigerian Navy ship Bigcraft Operation Delta Sanity has arrested a Ghana-owned motor tanker, Sweet Mary, involved in suspected crude oil theft. The vessel was arrested 174 nautical miles off the coast of Nigeria, approximately 320 kilometers heading to Benin Republic. According to a statement on Saturday by the NNS Base Information Officer, Lieutenant H. Ibrahim, the motor tanker Sweet Mary vessel had 13 crew, 1 Ghanaian and 12 Nigerians on board at the time of arrest. The flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral M.B. Hassan, was quoted in the statement as saying that the vessel was carrying about 2 million liters of suspected product without approval and had switched off its automatic identification system to avoid detection on February 25, 2024. Hassan also stated that the infraction necessitated the deployment of ship ABA to investigate the vessel, which was later found carrying products suspected to be crude oil, and NNS Sokoto to double up the search and interdict the vessel. This is a news update. Still ahead. Fish traders decry soaring operational costs as firewood prices jump. We'll bring you insights and details of this story and more after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. But if you're just joining us, this is the news update on Trust TV. Now let's take a look at a recap of some of our top stories. You heard that Hoodlums residents break into government warehouse in Abuja, loot food items. Kano Municipal Local Government Council confirms measles outbreak. And now moving on to more stories. Smoking, one of the best methods of preserving fish, has been passed on from generation to generation, with many using it as their main source of livelihood. In the Ekpe Fish Market of Lagos State, a community of industrious women engages in the traditional trade of smoking fish. However, their livelihoods are threatened by the dual challenges of soaring fish prices and the escalating cost of firewood that is essential for these smoking processes. Victoria Tokolo visited the Ekpe Smoking Fish Market. Her report is presented from our studio.
Smoking fish is more than just a culinary technique, but a cherished tradition among those engaged in it. Beyond adding a delicious flavor to dishes, smoking serves as a vital preservation method, ensuring that fish can be enjoyed for longer periods. However, in Ekpe Smoked Fish Market, traders are battling with the increasing costs of fish from suppliers, combined with the skyrocketing prices of firewood. In the wake of economic downturns, the cost of a bundle of firewood has surged to 7,500 naira compared to the previous price of 2,350 naira.
Now, fish you don't cost, wood you don't cost. If I buy only 3 wood, it's 5,000, 1,000. If I can't take dry the fish.
Before fuel scarce, I be there. Before they had money for fuel, everything they ship. But now, to get fish no dey easy because everything don fuel don dear. To get fuel no dey easy. The money wey we go take buy like 5 keg before, now we are buying and we are taking buy 1 carton 1 keg. So everything is there. If it come down, so everything will dey cheaper.
Despite the bite in economic challenges, the Ekpe market still revels in its usual bustle as retailers flocking to purchase dried fish in bulk, but not without lamenting the impact of soaring costs on their businesses.
We dey buy fish before 1,000, now don be 8,000. No gain for fish again. Shortage is too much. You no see sef. Fish no dey, money no dey, everything come cost. Before you dey see gain for the fish. If you buy like a 10,000, you fit see 5,000 for gain. But now you can 1 naira. You know the top of the fish.
Before we are buying it cheaper, but now if you buy a fish like 20,000 naira, before you can see a gain of 1,000, it's very hard. Government should help us. Government should help us. No fish, this thing that they used to kill it, we don't no money to buy it again. It's very costly.
Smoking, originally devised for food preservation, continues to offer disadvantage in contemporary culinary practices across Nigeria.
Away from Nigeria, mediators convened in Cairo on Sunday in a bid to negotiate a viable ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, raising hopes for a temporary cessation of hostilities in Gaza. A senior United States official revealed that Israel has tentatively accepted a framework deal, signaling progress in the negotiations. This development follows the United States military's unprecedented airdrop of over 38,000 meals into the Gaza Strip, marking the first of such delivery since the onset of the Israel-Hamas conflict. The proposed 6-week pause aims to facilitate the release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners amidst mounting pressure for a resolution. Tensions escalated further after a tragic incident outside Gaza City claimed the lives of at least 112 individuals during a rush on an aid convoy. Egyptian officials, in collaboration with Qatar, are facilitating the talks with both Hamas and Israeli delegations expected to participate. Reports suggest that Hamas is optimistic about reaching a truce agreement within the next 24 to 48 hours, contingent upon Israel's acceptance of its terms. Expectations were buoyed by a statement from a senior U.S. official affirming Israel's preliminary agreement to a 6-week ceasefire framework. And in sports, Rivers United have claimed the inaugural NPFL Youth League title in a thrilling final showdown against Katsina United. The match showcased fierce competition between the under-17 teams, with Rivers United initially taking the lead through Seyefa Jackson's goal in the 29th minute. Katsina United swiftly responded with Aliyu Abbas finding the net, leveling the score at half-time. In the second half, Rivers United regained momentum with David Benjamin and Aga George extending their lead to 3-1. Despite Katsina United's persistence, Rivers United sealed their victory with another goal from David Benjamin, securing a 4-2 win. Throughout the tournament, Rivers United demonstrated their prowess, with Seyefa Jackson emerging as the top scorer and Oscar Ozonwafo recognized as the tournament's most valuable player. The NPFL Youth League continues to serve as a vital platform for nurturing young talent and fostering the growth of football in Nigeria. And that concludes the news update at this hour. Remember, you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for your time.